Hello everyone, and welcome to my video on how I refurbished and saved a 1958 Ben Pearson Palomino. I bought this Ben Pearson on eBay for about $180. And when I went to bid, this is the first one up because they're pretty rare, this model, so I quickly put it in my bid. Then as I scrolled down, I found 3 others. Oops, well, I made my bed, now I gotta sleep in it. So I got my bow in, and it was pretty nice looking. And here's the numbers right here for it. You can see the serial number, and it's a 40-pounder. And I'm sitting there looking at it and go, you know what? I just want to string it. I got to string it. Well, put my stringer on it, and I heard crack. Uh-oh. Look down, and this is what I seen. Delamination almost halfway up the lower limb. Now, I'm in trouble. As you can see in this video, I'm showing you up close to crack. It was not the fiberglass and wood that delaminated. Actually, the wood itself split. And if you look, there's a pretty nice clean split, so this gave me hope. Now, I've never attempted a repair like this. And I went on Facebook and some of the things, and people are telling me to junk it. It's not worth it. You can't do it, blah, blah. You know what? I don't give up that easy. So I did some research into different epoxies, and I found this epoxy right here at 3 Rivers, and it claims it's used by most bowyers in the world. Well, you know what? If it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for me. Now, one thing everybody that works with epoxy tells you got to build a heat box and condition it for heat. Well, that's not an option here, because if I put the bow back in the heat box, I can mess up the other epoxy. Remember, this bow's from 1958. So I had a cold do it, and I waited till one of the warmer days. And I didn't build a form. So I'm looking at it, you know what? I'm just going to have to wing this, and I used these clamps right here. And I clamped it, and I put wood trying to spread the pressure out as best I can. And then I let it sit for a full week to cure. So letting it sit for a week, pulled it out, unwrapped it. Lots of excess overflow, had to sand it down, but everything appeared to be in one nice piece again. With the repair complete, I looked at the bow, and you can see the finish is still pretty good shape, but I was going to redo it. The one thing I wasn't going to touch is the leather hand wrap, because I just suck at leather. Now came time to apply the protective coating. And what I normally use is poly. And there's nothing wrong with poly. But the big thing that I wanted is I wanted a different look. Poly just seals over the wood. I wanted something that soaked into the wood. And that's when I found this stuff. The Casey Birchwood True Oil. What it is, their formula using linseed oil, and that's the secret, is linseed oil. And you take it and put it on your hand. You can put it on a cloth. I like using my fingers. And just rub it into the wood. And it soaks into the wood. And it takes 4 or 5 different coatings, but it just looks gorgeous when you're done. The Palomino bow first appeared in 1958, and that was the first year that Ben Pearson actually used names on their bows. The Palomino, the first model, ran from 1958 to 1963. The second generation ran from 1964 to 1968, at which time they discontinued the Palomino. Dating this bow was actually quite easy. If you're going to date a Ben Pearson bow, the first thing you always look at is the logo, because Ben Pearson changed their logos every other year. And then with the Palominos, they actually changed their model numbers a lot. But from the early 58s to the 63, they always had one model that was consistent. But what made this bow so easy to date was the leather hand wrap. That was only offered in 1958. It's never mentioned again in the catalogs. And 1958 was the first year that they used the name Palomino. So I'm pretty certain that this is a 1958 Palomino. And the kicker of this is it was designed by Ben Pearson himself. I find that is really cool. Okay, here I am at Flying Arrow Sports in Carmel, New York. Gonna put my 1958 Ben Pearson Palomino. I'm gonna set it up and chronograph it. So let's get started. All right, just put my knock on, tuned it in. You know, I strung it last night at 7.5, and I let it sit strung overnight, and it went from 7.5 down to 7. So I had to twist it again. My string stretched a 1/2 inch overnight. Fired a couple of them, just playing around, you know, get the knock in, and I eyeballed it. I put it on, I don't use a little T or anything. Put my knock on there, fired it, and went straight. So I'm gonna fire 3 of them, and let's see how we do. This thing's sweet. You know. I mean, this is nice. I have to say, and I'll show you here in a second after I do this shot, right where I wanted it. You can see this pistol grip, it's a lot different than most, isn't it? It's like holding a real pistol. I really, really like this pistol grip. Now, ones I just shot were 500 spines. This is a 400, but with a big, I think a 175 grain head. Not bad, you know, went pretty straight. The arrows are just clipping my finger, the feather. I can feel it. And of course, that was wood, always goes low. First impression, this is a sweet shooter. Pretty darn quiet, and I just love this grip. All right, now I'm gonna go put her on the chronograph. Let's see how she does. $159. $160. $158. $147. $147. I feel nothing. No hand shock. This thing shoots sweet. I like this. Perfect where I was looking. That one went high. So let me show you. So, see how we did. 20 yards. Okay, just took my first shot at 30 yards with this thing. You know, this only shot it a couple times in my basement at 10. I did about 3 actual shots, groups of 3 at the 20, and I took one at 30. And I'm telling you, I didn't hit it. I was aiming for the orange dot, but look how close I got. That's why I love this bow already. There it is. Look at that, huh? 30 yards. I am happy with that group. Yeah, okay, I may have been 2 inches off to the side, but all 3 are in a nice tight group. This bow shoots so well. All right, done setting up, playing around with it, and I tell you, okay, I love all my bows. I love all my Ben Pearson bows. I only have 2 that aren't. You know, there's something about this, but one, I know for a fact that Ben Pearson himself designed this one. And I know this is the one for a fact that won all those tournaments. And it's, I tell you, I can see why. This thing just shoots so sweet. It's point, you know, I point, you know, instinctive, I just look. And it goes where I'm looking. My other bows, yeah, but not to this ease. It's so easy to do it with this. You know, I love this bow. And I'm glad I saved it. Glad she made a recovery. And I cannot wait to take this thing out on a 3D course. It's going to be a blast. All right, I'm going to take my last shots. And then I'm going to go to Home Depot and get something to put it up on my wall with. Bullseye. First try. Gotta love it. All right, let's go back to the studio. The 1958 Ben Pearson Palomino is an awesome bow. If you can get your hands on one, do it. You know, I'm glad I saved it, and I'm so enamored with it, I decided over the winter I'm going to try to build a left-handed version. And while you know, thinking about that, I'm looking at the bow from its design perspective. You know, and there's some things in it that you don't see anymore, like that pistol grip. That is a real pistol grip. Now, a couple other things he did. You see my picture here that I have. I took 2 pictures and overlaid them at each other, strung and unstrung. So let's look at the unstrung. Look at the difference in the curve of the limb between the top and the bottom. I wonder why he did that. Now, also look at the limbs. The upper limb is longer than the lower limb. You know, you don't see that in a whole lot of bows today. There's just things he did, and I wonder why. You know, why didn't he curve the bottom limb more, like most bows are? And the only thing I can come up with is it's just easier to manufacture your limbs being identical, especially on takedowns. I know that's for a fact. So it's something I'm thinking about, but I love this bow. I went out and shot it again today, and I did a Vegas 450, and I'm telling you, I've never shot a 10-10-10, but I got 4 10-10-9s today. I look, that's where my arrow goes. You know, and that's what instinctive archery is supposed to be like. With my others, I look, and I think it's going to go there, but this one, like I said, it's so easy. I just look, and it goes. You know, it could be part of me getting my form down better, but I'm telling you what, the Ben Pearson Palomino, I love this bow, and I definitely give it 2 thumbs up.